What if the parts of yourself you were taught to hide were never the enemy? What if the very emotions you suppress, ignore, or judge are not signs of weakness, but pure, concentrated power waiting to be remembered? For most of my life, I believed that strength came from perfection, discipline, and light. I believed that my flaws had to be erased, my anger had to be silenced, my insecurities had to be buried. But the more I tried to destroy these parts, the stronger they became. It felt like a war against myself, a war I was destined to lose. Only later, I learned the truth. You cannot kill what is part of you. You can only integrate it. That hidden place inside, the one you avoid at all costs, has a name. It's called the shadow. The shadow is the invisible you, the emotional basement where everything you don't want to face is stored. Shame, envy, fear, rage, guilt, inferiority, all those pieces of identity you push down to survive, to fit in, to be accepted. But suppression has a price. The more you reject your shadow, the more it controls you from below the surface. You see it in patterns that repeat, relationships that collapse the same way, triggers that return like seasons, self-sabotage that arrives right when life begins to work. And each time you say, "Why does this keep happening to me?" But here is the uncomfortable answer. It's not happening to you, it's happening from you. I once knew someone who never understood why his friendships always ended in silence and distance. He thought he was too kind, too loyal, too giving. He believed others were ungrateful, but the truth was buried in his shadow. Deep down, he was terrified of rejection. That fear made him controlling, demanding, and suffocating without realizing it. The very trait he refused to acknowledge, insecurity, was directing his life. Only when he faced it did his pattern finally break. This is the nature of the shadow. Deny it, and it owns you. Acknowledge it, and it dissolves. We are taught that emotions like anger, jealousy, or sadness are negative. But what if they're not? What if anger is the shadow form of boundaries not yet claimed? What if jealousy is the shadow form of desires you're afraid to pursue? What if procrastination isn't laziness, but a message that your soul refuses to waste life on what doesn't inspire it? When you change the frame, you change the meaning. And when you change the meaning, you reclaim your power. The shadow is not a monster, it is a messenger. And every message it carries leads back to your unmet needs, unlived potential, and abandoned fire. Your shadow is your unloved self, and no true transformation can happen if you love only the parts of you that are easy to look at. Real power begins when you have the courage to turn toward what you fear inside. Because integration, not perfection, is what unlocks your evolution. Blocko 2. There is a profound shift that happens the moment you stop fighting your inner critic and start listening to it. The shadow does not attack without reason. It attacks to protect. Every negative trait has a hidden positive intention. The inner critic tries to prevent humiliation. Anger tries to defend your boundaries. Envy tries to point you toward your true desires. Fear tries to keep you alive. These parts of you are not villains. They are wounded guardians using primitive strategies. They don't need to be destroyed. They need to be upgraded, understood, and integrated. Imagine asking yourself a different question. Instead of, "What is wrong with me?" and ask, "What is this part of me trying to protect?" That single shift turns self-judgment into self-mastery. Shadow work is not about diving into darkness for the sake of suffering. It's about retrieving the power you left behind. True light is not fragile. True light can walk into the dark without losing itself. Here is a simple exercise. Think of a trait you judge in yourself: jealousy, procrastination, emotional coldness, people-pleasing, anger, impatience, control. Now ask, what is the hidden intention behind this trait? What is it trying to give me? What pain is it trying to prevent? Write it down. Don't rationalize. Don't censor. Just observe. This is how you bring the unconscious into awareness. You are turning the light on inside your own mind. When you integrate your shadow, something extraordinary happens. Internal conflict dissolves. Your energy stops leaking. Your emotions stop hijacking you. You become whole. Artists who face their shadow create masterpieces. Leaders who integrate their shadow inspire nations. Innovators who embrace their shadow break the rules that everyone else is afraid to question. Integration is liberation, and liberation gives birth to authenticity. To support this process, there are practical tools. Journaling is one. Write these prompts. What parts of me do I judge most? Where do I feel shame? What triggers me? What part of me am I afraid people will see? Sit with the answers without running. Second, awareness. Use mindfulness to observe your emotions as sensations, not truths. When anger arises, don't explode and don't suppress, witness. Third, feedback. Ask a person you deeply trust. What do you see in me that I don't see? Sometimes our shadow is so close that we are blind to it. The goal is not to become someone new. The goal is to become someone whole. The shadow is not the opposite of light. It is the part of light you rejected. When you reclaim it, you stop chasing validation. You stop being controlled by fear. You breathe differently. You walk differently. You live differently. Integration is self-revolution, and you are the only one who can begin it. Block 03. Once you stop running from yourself, your true power begins to awaken. The journey from shadow to strength is the journey from self-rejection to self-mastery. You stop asking, how do I eliminate my flaws? And you start asking, how do I use all of me? Human potential is not limited by weakness. It is limited by fragmentation. A divided self is a weakened self. An integrated self is unstoppable. Your shadow holds your suppressed creativity, your suppressed voice, your suppressed courage, your suppressed desire, your suppressed truth. When you reclaim it, you don't just heal, you expand. You become resilient, expressive, magnetic. You stop repeating the same lessons because the teacher within has finally been heard. Life no longer feels like an enemy. You begin to collaborate with your own existence. Observe a tree, it does not grow only toward the sun. Its roots grow into the dark. Depth requires both directions, so do you. Light without shadow is incomplete. Shadow without light is unconscious. But light with shadow, integrated, is consciousness. This is what it means to awaken. From now on, when a difficult emotion rises, don't ask, how do I make this go away? Ask, what are you trying to show me? When a pattern repeats, ask, what truth am I avoiding? When shame appears, ask, whose voice is this? Who taught me to hate this part of myself? This is shadow work in motion, not theory, practice. The shadow is not a prison. The door has always been unlocked. You walk out the moment you stop abandoning yourself. Because the shadow is not darkness, it is light in exile. You are not broken. You are not missing anything. You are not behind. Everything you need is already inside you, waiting to be reclaimed. Your shadow is not your flaw. It is your fuel. It carries the blueprint of your unlived potential, your unclaimed strength, your unapologetic truth. The parts of you that you hide are the same parts that can set you free. Your shadow is your untapped power. Embrace it, integrate it, and watch who you become. There comes a moment in every awakening when you realize that fighting yourself is the most exhausting battle a human being can wage. Your shadow is not trying to destroy you. It is trying to protect you with outdated strategies, born from moments of pain, humiliation, fear, and emotional survival. The inner critic that screams is often a child inside you that was never heard. The anger that explodes is a boundary you never learned to defend. The jealousy that burns is a desire you never gave yourself permission to claim. Every negative trait is a misunderstood guardian. When you stop attacking these parts and begin to listen, something profound shifts inside. Resistance becomes clarity, and shame becomes information. The shadow always carries a positive intention, even when the behavior it produces is destructive. The mind thinks it is keeping you safe. If you sabotage opportunities, a deeper part of you is trying to avoid disappointment. If you procrastinate, it may be because your soul refuses to invest life force in a path that isn't aligned. If you are cold or distant, maybe you were taught that vulnerability leads to danger. When you look at your patterns through this lens, you stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking, "What is this part of me trying to protect?" This is the first step from unconscious reaction to conscious transformation. Shadow work is not about digging into darkness for suffering. It is about retrieving your lost power. The shadow is a vault of frozen energy, emotional charge that never had space to be expressed. The moment you face it, you release potential. You are not trying to eliminate anger, jealousy, fear, or control. You are learning to redirect their energy. Anger becomes self-respect. Jealousy becomes clarity of desire. Fear becomes intuition and awareness. Control becomes discipline and direction. Integration does not create a new self. It frees the self that was buried. To begin this process, you need awareness, honesty, and a willingness to see yourself without filters. Start with one question. What part of me do I judge the most? Write it down without trying to sound wise, spiritual, or evolved. Then ask, what is the hidden gift behind this trait? What is it trying to prevent? What is it trying to protect? The shadow loses power the moment it is seen with neutrality. Judgment traps it. Curiosity liberates it. Next, practice emotional mindfulness. When a strong emotion rises, do not suppress it and do not act on it. Sit with it. Observe it in your body. Where does it live? Chest, throat, stomach, jaw? What temperature does it have? What movement? What memory? By witnessing instead of reacting, you reclaim authority over your inner world. You are teaching your nervous system that discomfort is not danger. The third step is relational reflection. Choose one person you trust and ask, what patterns do you see in me that I might be blind to? This is uncomfortable, but priceless. We are masters at hiding the truth from ourselves, but the shadow is visible in our impact on others. Sometimes a single honest mirror reveals what 10 years of inner avoidance could not. Integration is liberation. When your shadow is acknowledged, the internal war ends. Your energy stops leaking into self-punishment. Your mind becomes quieter. Your choices become cleaner. Life stops recycling the same lessons because the unconscious material has finally come into the light. This is the birth of authenticity, a state where you no longer need masks, approval, or performance to feel like yourself. Authenticity is not being perfect. It is being whole. When you integrate the shadow, you become someone who can hold their own darkness without collapsing. Someone unshakable, grounded, real, and deeply alive. This is the path of true self-mastery. Integration is not a moment. It is a returning, a remembering, a homecoming to the parts of yourself you exiled in order to survive. When you stop running from your shadow, you stop abandoning your own power. You begin to notice that the patterns you once feared dissolve, not because life changed, but because you changed. A fragmented self is always at war. An integrated self becomes a force of nature, clear, grounded, and unshakably present. This is the turning point when you no longer ask, how do I get rid of this part of me? But instead proclaim, how do I use all of me? Your shadow is not a cage. It is the locked chamber where your creativity, your voice, your courage, your boundaries, and your instinct were stored the moment you learned it wasn't safe to express them. Every breakthrough you seek, in relationships, in purpose, in manifestation, in self-worth, is tied to a piece of yourself that you hid to be loved, accepted, or safe. When you reclaim these pieces, you don't just heal. You expand. You evolve. You become congruent. The same on the inside and outside. That alignment creates a different kind of magnetism. You no longer attract from fear, but from wholeness. From now on, when an emotion rises, don't rush to suppress it. Ask, what are you here to teach me? When a pattern repeats, don't curse it. Say, I'm listening now. When shame whispers, respond, you're safe with me. This is not weakness. This is mastery. Emotional avoidance is fragile. Emotional presence is indestructible. You are not here to amputate parts of your soul in the name of being positive. You are here to become whole, light with depth, love with boundaries, peace with power. You will notice something remarkable as you continue this work. Life stops feeling like an enemy you must conquer. Reality becomes cooperative, responsive, and fluid. Why? Because the universe mirrors your internal state. A divided inner world creates a chaotic outer world. An integrated inner world creates coherence, clarity, and flow. Your frequency stabilizes, your choices elevate, your relationships deepen. Your manifestation becomes cleaner, faster, and more aligned. You stop attracting lessons and start attracting expansion. Remember, a tree does not grow only toward the sun. Its roots must grow into the dark. Your shadow is not darkness, it is depth. Depth is what gives you gravity, presence, and humanity. Light without shadow is shallow. Shadow without light is lost. But light with shadow, unified, becomes consciousness. This is the essence of awakening, not escaping yourself, but embracing all of yourself. So walk forward with a new command. No more self-rejection. No more abandoning the pieces of you that hurt. No more pretending that certain emotions make you unworthy or weak. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be whole. Your shadow's not your enemy. It is your misunderstood ally, your untapped source of strength, your doorway to the power you were afraid to claim. Embrace it, integrate it, and step into a life where you finally realize nothing within you was ever working against you. It was only waiting to be seen.